Okay, everybody, and it's time for exploring Buddhist concepts right here on your TT Radio. It's a Thursday, and we are joined in between here by Cassie Senghor. Cassie been out for a little bit, and it's good to have him back again tonight. So, Cassie, good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm alright up to now, I'm so Charles. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. I'm getting a little feedback from you somewhere.
Alright, I'm trying to alright, okay, I think I got it now, right. I was trying to come off the phone, I was answering somebody who was trying to get in to
Oh,
listen.
okay.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here with you.
You're right, so you're hearing me?
Yeah.
Right, and I'm hearing you, right. Okay, thanks for the welcome back. Right, so it was how to say, man, I took up this body and I took it to the hospital there. And, I said, well, look, let me go into the hospital there and see if I would get, you know, how to say, taxpayers' help, so to speak. And I did, and it felt good. I spoke about it yesterday, I think, thanking all the medical staff, the nursing staff, the manual staff and everybody, so that was really good. So, when you have something like that happening in your personal life, then you feel good about it. And when you look outside there, you get the different vibes, you wonder what's going on in this world. As you said this just a while ago there, the madness continues. The madness continues to tell us. Madness continues to take place, you said. And then you go into the contraband and the question as to how things like that can happen. Well, let me start with let me start my return with a prayer. A prayer. Right? Let me preface that prayer with a piece of advice coming down from one of our masters, which says that every morning our first thought should be a wish to devote the day to the welfare of all living beings. So, Charles, there's music in the background here as a bit loud. I don't, it's kind of loud.
Okay, is that any better? Yeah. Cassie, you
Yeah,
hear
much
me?
better. Right, good.
Yeah. You said that somebody else was
No
trying to get
music in
into
the
the.
background now.
You said that somebody
Yes,
else was
I'm
supposed to
hearing.
be joining us.
Huh?
Somebody else was supposed to be joining us on the platform today.
What's that?
Is there somebody else that was supposed to be joining us on the
What
platform?
did
You
you?
said.
Well, all I gave them was netradio.com. And I
Oh,
was
that's for
hearing
them.
it on my phone, so I tried it
Um.
out on my phone.
Oh, that was for them to listen.
Yeah, to listen, yeah, to listen.
Right. Okay. Cool. No
And
problem.
I was hearing it on my phone. I heard the bell ring and everything on my phone. So I just
Yeah.
simply told them to try again. I don't know if they're trying before. I am here and
Okay.
they are there. You
Okay.
understand?
Cool.
Right. So, right. So, thank you very much, Sir Charles.
No
And
problem.
what I was saying, yeah, what I was saying is that, well, first of all, I said, well, thanks for the welcome back. And I said, I repeated what I said yesterday about being thankful to everyone in the San Fernando General Hospital there, medical staff, everybody, nursing staff, cleaning staff, breakfast, lunch, dinner staff, my neighbors on the beds around me in the ward that I was in. I really want to thank all of them then for their presence. I want to thank all of them for their presence because, they made my stay what it was. I was in a lot of pain at times. There were times when I was just drowsy, falling asleep and so on and things. But between sleep and wake, between drowsiness and alertness, between doubt and certainty, between pain and painlessness. I wouldn't use the word pleasure. Yeah, I would say pain and painlessness. Between in between all of those things, and there was a kind of a joy which which I can summon, I think, at any time. Thankfully, hopefully, I can do it at any time because, like right now, for instance, like today, for instance, um, sometimes I'm not totally prepared to for what I'm going to do between 11 and 12. And it brings about a kind of anxiety and, oh boy, what am I going to do? And that kind of thing. And then, I know what to do, so I do it, and I'm able to kind of calm myself. And as I was saying before, you asked me about, who wanted to get in and all that. I want us to begin with a prayer. And this idea about summoning the joy and the courage and the ability to do what I'm doing here between 11 and 12 is buoyed by the fact that every morning between Monday and Friday I sit with a group. Well, it just so happens that I'm the only man in the group, but nevertheless, I quite enjoy that. There are a number of women I sit with every morning, and what we do is meditate between 6:30 and 7. And then on Wednesday nights we have what is called a Dharma talk, and currently we have been dealing with living and dying, you know, which is quite appropriate for people my age and even people younger who want to, as one person put it last night there, who want to die well, who want to die properly. Then, if I could just paraphrase that, what I mean, they don't want to, they don't. I mean, we don't know how we will die. That is the truth. How and when. But we still have a desire, a wish to to die well and to die in peace, and which is a good wish. So last night we had it was probably the last talk in the series on we used the Tibetan book of the dead, that teaches us about living and dying, and which contains within it a number of practices and so on. But let me get to the prayer. The prayer is that with boundless compassion and wisdom, I will work for the welfare of all. May we be free from hunger and discord and have joy and a world at peace. Well, when it depends on, what we want to prioritize as the world, because really and truly, the world is you. Hmm. You know, the world is you. The world at peace is you at peace. And with you at peace and I at peace, we can look out into the world and wish them, all sentient beings, which is in a sense nothing more or less than we ourselves, we're looking at, wish us the best. You know, as one person says here, can you imagine the world we would be in if people would follow this advice? It would be like uh, it would be like heaven and earth. And what is the advice? The advice is every morning our first thought should be a wish to devote the day to the welfare of all living beings. Our first thought should be to devote the day to the welfare of all living beings. And I think that prayer uh, does that. Let me repeat the prayer. With boundless compassion and wisdom, I will work for the welfare of all. So that is what you are doing. That's what we say at the beginning of before we begin to meditate. But the advice is to make it the first thought upon arising every morning. We get a lot of posters and with advice, stickers and stuff that tell us things like that, like begin your day with a prayer and, or, don't forget to praise and so on. Make that the first thing you do. So, there's nothing, I don't think I'm saying anything strange or different, but the idea of doing it daily may overwhelm some people, because when we look out there and we see what is happening, when we see what Sir Charles called hmm, the madness that continues to take place, it's very disheartening, and you might go to bed with it, with the madness, and you might very well dream it, and you might very well wake up with it. And I do believe that a lot of people do, because it's so disheartening and so oppressive, and you know, it makes you want to cry. It makes you want to think that you're unworthy, or it makes you want to give up then and to join in with the rest who are not so keen on, who don't want to see themselves as the world, and therefore who don't want the best for themselves, and they just simply want to go along with whatever they see out there, join in, follow the gang, whatever obtains, I think, as I think I was hearing, I'm not so sure, but I do think I was hearing about the continuity of the corruption, which was, I think, had to do with the fact that if they found all these items now up in the ceiling, they would have been there for a long time, some of them. And that would have been something that was being done over years, or And then it was being done over years, it's something, a practice that the people involved were doing for a long time, you know. And therefore, it's just a continuity of bad vibes and the corruption that, and it seems as though there's a little separate. You bring in the army, they bring in the police, they bring somebody from outside, they do all manner of things, but you have not changed the mind or the mindset, as we now put it, of the perpetrators. That remains the same, and that is easier to pass on than the advice that is being given here. Every morning, our first thought should be a wish to devote the day to the welfare of all beings. You could juxtapose that with hiding how many um, what do you call it now, boxes or whatever it is, they from matches or cell phones and whatever the contraband that they found, right? I have to go over the list. You know the list. Probably some of you know the list better than me, right? But you know the list. I don't have to go over it. So if that thing is accumulating over time, and I think I heard about people resigning and then other people taking over. So they're passing that on, they're passing on that practice. So who is going to pass on the practice of each every morning? Our first thought should be a wish to devote the day to the welfare of all beings. How many people are going to pass that on? They're going to look upon that as, for you Sophias, and you don't want them, like you don't want, you don't like money, and the negative um, speeches that you're going to get them, the kind of scorn that people are going to look upon you with, and with this kind of season coming up, the attachment that some of us have to this season, and some of us cannot do without certain things during this season. And we will do anything to make sure that we get what we want, and we know what we want, but do we really need it? You know what I mean? Are we going to get up every morning to devote, as they put it here, devote the day to the welfare of all living beings? Or are we going to get up every morning to devote the day to the welfare of just simply my being, to simply what I want, or what me and my wife want, what my family wants, what those closest to me want, what those in my circle want, etc., etc. You take it a certain degree, but not what everybody, all beings want. And what does all beings want? They want happiness, not just pleasure, not just pleasure. They want happiness, and they don't want happiness that comes and goes, although, because of ignorance. And by ignorance, I mean because we do not know what really is the case. Because of ignorance, we do not know how to go about getting lasting happiness. Then. So we settle for less, and we take pleasure in the temporary things that will come and go. And even after yesterday, I was hearing in a taxi coming home here about how people view January as the hardest month. And, there was a to and fro about that, about between the driver and a passenger, about the preparation. that one should take so that that doesn't happen. You have to go on thinking about January as the hardest month. And all of this shows that is coming, all of this is coming, this hardest month talk is coming from the mind. It's not coming from any reality out there that says that it is the hardest month. It is the hardest month because of how you have thought about it in mind. How you probably maybe how you probably wake up on mornings thinking about it. That it doesn't matter that it's going to be hard. You have to kind of expect that. And then for some people it's going to be harder because they also want to play mass. So we have it on both ends. Before January and after January, you're going to spend quite a lot, and then you're going to blame January as the hardest month in the year. So let me repeat that prayer that I said that we begin with on mornings when we meditate for half an hour between 6:30 and 7. And that prayer is with boundless compassion and wisdom. We will work for the welfare of all. Let me just pause there because there's work involved. You know, what is this work? How are we going to work for the welfare of all? Is it that we're going to simply sit down and meditate all day, all night, or what have you? Well, if I could use myself as an example, when I was in the hospital there from the November the 1st, in the ward actually, from the evening of November the 1st to the afternoon of November the 6th, the following Thursday. When I was there, I felt that I was doing some work, uh, you know, because I had carried with me my mala, which some people will call rosary beads and so on. I took that along with me, when I packed my bag with overnight, my one overnight t-shirt and the pants and tralala. You know, I carried that with me and what was the work? The work for me was to wish everybody around me well. And I think that is what I got in return. I don't know for sure. That could be mind over matter, or that could be just a coincidence or what have you. But the fact is that it did happen. That in return, that I am putting it like that. I was well treated. So what did I use the Mara to do? I used it to recite a chant, a few chants that I know, and I decided to recite them in between the waking and sleeping, in between the meals, whenever I got a chant in between the drowsiness and the alertness and all the in-betweens that I could muster then while being there, making friends with the people on the beds around me and having discussions with them and their visitors and all that, the whole life then. I figured that I kind of forgot myself in a sense. Between the pain and the painlessness, I sort of surrendered then. And, in a kind of way, I think the doctors were a bit surprised as to my approach then to what was happening, because apart from the fact that I was passing all the tests, the blood tests, the this test, the X-ray test, the ECG, the scan, the everything. Apart from that, you kind of wonder, well, what wrong with what is wrong? Well, I mean, there's a hernia, which is obvious. But you really wonder what is wrong. So when I got up, I didn't forget the fact that I couldn't link with the group because there's no Wi-Fi in the ward, so I couldn't link with the group to say, well, look, let me go and let me join and meditate. But I could remember the group, and I could sit down. I could sit down and meditate. Depending on how I woke up that morning, meaning was I in a drowsy state. And even if I was in pain, that was another opportunity for me to practice what I know that, I am not the pain. There is pain, and, I could watch it, I could sense it, I could feel it, and maybe I could use it to advantage because everywhere around me, everybody is in pain, lying down on a bed. Not just me. The doctors and all in pain because they have to come to work and as one was telling me one afternoon, they say, why I want to go home. I don't know what was keeping them back, but he wanted to go home. And, I saw them just sit down one morning, they are writing with pen and ink on paper all morning. She looked like a senior nurse, and there she was sitting down. Her back was to me. And I'm sorry I didn't take out a picture of her with her back to me, but I don't want to show up anybody's face or anything. And there she was writing all morning, let's say well, you can't even say what time. But I know when I got up, whatever time it was. I usually would get up early and, force myself into the bathroom and all of that. And by the time I come out and, dress and so on, there's a lot of busyness taking place because people have to be in place to take care of us. And this nurse was there, well, from my viewpoint, a fairly young person, and she sat down there writing with pen and ink all morning until I would say, about 12 o'clock, when she maybe probably finished work and left, and left. I can't say, other than that, work was ended. Well, she left, let me put it like that. So I don't know what happened, where she went to or what happened. But I saw her there writing, you know what I mean? And I found that how she could be doing that all morning. She had these papers in front of her, quite a number of files, and she had to be transferring this, and other people would come and they would take her file, work. So she was at work, the doctors were at work, and breakfast was served, lunch was served, dinner was served. There was a younger lady, cleaning, mopping, and so on. All of that is work. And I was at work, I felt like I was at work too because, I'm there kind of keeping my neighbors in particular good company, talking with the nurses and them sometimes, certainly talking to the doctors and asking them good questions and so on, following up on what is taking place and so on. But the deeper work in all of that was a wish for them to for their welfare. I wish that everything would go well with them. That's the deeper work, and that was done even in the midst of pain and suffering. Pain and suffering. I really put it like that, and that is how the thing went. And so I'm just going to repeat the prayer again, because You can't say these prayers too often, and especially if we are not in the habit of doing these things regularly or first thing in the morning or what have you. It's good to repeat them and remind ourselves of why we are here on the earth. What is our, or trying to find out if we don't know what is our purpose. You know, so that if even we sound a purpose, a general purpose, within that sounding, we can find a individual purpose for being here. And the prayer is that with boundless compassion, and then over time we learn what compassion really is, and wisdom, and over time we learn what compassion really is. Over time, meaning over the time that we spend in meditation, contemplation, and listening, we find out what it really is. You know, so that with boundless compassion and wisdom, because those two things are like two wings of a bird. You look at it. Too much compassion and no wisdom will make you a kind of emotional template. Then you're just kind of emotional and you have lots of compassion. And too much wisdom and no compassion will make you a erudite. Where you just kind of exposing knowledge. It might be more than intellectual knowledge, it might be good spiritual knowledge, but it's not balanced then by a deep concern for your fellow man, your fellow woman, I have to say also these days. You know, so we call them the two wings of the bird. They both needed compassion, where you show great concern for all sentient beings, and wisdom, which is how to use it for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that's the work that I have to do, and others like myself who are training and meditating and making little efforts along the way. Some of us may call it sacrifices, depending on where we are at. You know, some of us are doing it in spite of our situation. We are not all well-to-do people. We don't all have what do you call that? Creature comforts. Then we don't all have that. Some of us lack that. You know, but what we have is a desire to be of service to everyone else, and that is the work that we do. Just like what I'm doing here now, and what my fellow Buddhists who will be coming on each week, that is what we do. That is the work then, the main work that we do, working on ourselves and working on all sentient beings. Can you imagine the world we would be in if people would follow this advice? It would be like heaven on earth, says one practitioner. And the advice that she's referring to is that every morning our first thought should be a wish to devote the day to the welfare of all living, uh, living beings. So, with all that said, you know, well, I think by now you all know well I like the practice. I like to meditate, because it has brought me so much joy. It brought me so much knowledge. Um, I can't boast that wiser or, more compassionate or interesting. But, there's a sense of well-being then. Let me put it like that. There's a sense of well-being for having followed the path of the Buddha over the years. And that sense of well-being, I hope that I could transfer it to others in spite of how I may feel, in terms of how I may feel physically, emotionally, um, at any given time. Because it's easy to make excuses. You could get up I could get up on a Tuesday morning and say, of course, not, boy. This morning I already am feeling that way, And then call up one of them brethren or sister or whoever and see if they would do it for me or whatever. But I'm happy that I could summon the joy, and summon the happiness that comes with wanting to do it and with actually doing it too, you know. Because I often wonder about Sir Charles and others like him who come to the radio every day, every single day, Monday to Friday in particular, just like we do the meditation, Monday to Friday, to conduct their programs, And I used to say, oh boy, I wonder if I could do that. Because that's every day. I only doing it on a Thursday. He has set up a number of us on different days. Monday, uh, every cent counts. Wednesday, um, um, human development. Thursday, exploring Buddhist concepts. And then he has the afternoon thing with um, Tony Fraser and other stuff in between. He had a tight ship running. He had a radio network running, and he has to do that every day. So I am very I admire greatly the work that he has to do, and I also admire the work that my that fellow practitioners and myself do also. And I wish we could do more. I wish we could go into schools and sit with children and do some work there. I wish we could go into offices, and sit with young adults and do it there. I wish we could go into where more mature people are, where the elders are. In other words, to cover a wide range of what we call sentient beings. To not to convert them, to Buddhism, because you don't have to be a Buddhist to do all of these things. You don't have to be a Buddhist to love people, to be compassionate, to be wise. You don't have to be a Buddhist to do that. It certainly helps because you get guidance, people who have gone before and are willing to show you the way and that kind of thing. But you don't have to be a Buddhist in order to love people. You know what I mean? So here we are on this Thursday. Um, so let me just do a little 5 minutes of the practice, which is to say that wherever you are, especially if you are seated and you can sit up without leaning on the back of your chair, that you can feel the weight of your body on the chair, that you can feel your feet on the ground. You don't have to take off your shoes or anything unless you're in a private situation or personal situation where you can't do that. So your feet are touching the ground. You could feel it. You could feel your arms on your legs. You could feel the clothes on your skin. And you take a nice long inner breath. You breathe in and you just rest there for a while before breathing out. You just breathe in and you're not really thinking about any particular thing at that point when you breathe in or when you are resting in that breath. You just sort of, enjoying that moment and then you gradually breathe out through the mouth. Maybe you could breathe out through the mouth, you know, and you do it a few times. So in, rest, out, in, rest, out, and once again, in, rest, out. And from there now, you begin to breathe naturally, your normal everyday breath, then, how you breathe normally, then you just begin to breathe normally. At this time, you're going to pay attention to it. You're either going to count the breath or follow the breath. If you are a rank beginner, first timer, second timer, that kind of early bird sort of thing, I would suggest that you count. So you can count in breath one, out breath two, in breath three, out breath four, and you can go to 10. Or you can count in breath, out breath one, in breath, out breath two, and similarly you're counting to 10. Now you're not manufacturing a breath here. You're not making up a breath. Remember? It's just a normal breathing. You're just simply counting as the breath comes in and goes out. Breathing, I know how the Buddha taught it is like breathing, I know that I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. So it's the knowing that is important here. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I'm breathing out. And the counting helps us to know. And then for those who might be a little more advanced, you don't have to count, you simply follow the breath as it comes in and as it goes out. So you do that, and maybe you could spend a little time, just doing that, you just simply following the breath or counting the breath. And if you could spend, well, we mightn't be, it's now 11:45, so we mightn't be able to spend an entire 5 minutes doing that. Maybe next time I'll try to start it a little earlier, maybe 11:40, that we could do it for between 11:40 and 11:45. So, you do that. You do that. You have said your prayer already. You're wishing the best for all sentient beings, and now you're following the breath. Maybe you do it for 5 minutes, even not 3 minutes, even 1 minute. You follow that breath, and then um, you're going to let it go, and just go back to whatever you were doing. But before you do that, just notice how you feel at the end of it all. You're not manufacturing a feeling here either. You just notice it. Right? You just notice it. You're not trying to adjust anything, fix anything, make anything better, or anything like that. You just notice it. and you can then eventually let that go and continue along the way, you know. And then at the end, so I'm just going to read the end once, which is we are about to end. So we have that prayer that I repeated a number of times. We call that the opening aspiration, what we are aspiring to do. And this one we call it the closing dedication because we are dedicating what we have done to this very same sentient beings. And that prayer says, by the power of this compassionate again, compassion practice, may suffering be transformed into peace. May the heart of all beings again, be open and their wisdom radiate from within. May the heart of all beings be open and their wisdom radiate from within. So we acknowledge that everybody has wisdom. It's just simply a matter of training as how to open the heart, how to begin with following the breath, and eventually you graduate into seeing things as they really are, and whatever the practices may come. You study whatever books and talks and so on, and you progress along the way. So let me just say thank you very much, everyone, for listening. If you have a question, I could take maybe one or two, I don't know, if anybody has. Or if
Yeah, but
not, just, yeah,
yeah, if not, the lines are always open to people, so they can call us at 281-1315.
right. But if there is no one, well, that's all right too, because I'm happy that you listened, and I'm sure that you would have tried the breathing, and the listener is important because, as the Dalai Lama says, um, it is better to listen than to speak because in listening you can learn so much more than if you just keep speaking and speaking and speaking. That is why, like every time that I am on, to include a little bit of the practice of meditation because it involves some listening to. Eventually, you will come to realize, hey, because that simple practice that we just did there helps to calm the mind, and when the mind is calm, we are more prone to listen, um, and we are more prone to make wise decisions, and we are more prone to look after the welfare of all beings. So that simple little practice here does all of that, and we must be thankful. So Charles, I thank you very much and all the listeners out there. And I would like to end it here until next Tuesday. I'm not sure yet who will be on. Uh, One of our members will be on next week Thursday to continue this good work of exploring Buddhist concepts. Thank you.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful peaceful and at ease.